Remind me again why we're running.
I just hit a chicken.
Oh dear. Not again.
Right?
Yeah, kind of. I think I might have cut off that, so you kind of just got was an awesome intro. I don't know. I'll have to look at the video later. Jump on back. So
we're heading back to where we would normally film, but we decided maybe we should film here. Our trek back. It kind of feels surreal, like we're going through
on a survival mission of some sort, like The Walking Dead. Love that show. But
yeah.
We filmed just back there, and I tried my hardest not to get a fence that was there. I don't know if you guys can see that. I'll try and edit it out the best I can. I can just cut off the rims, so like you can't even see that far. So my feet.
So yeah, I almost fell in the water back there.
Yeah.
It's good though.
Because when we were filming the intro, we were like, oh, that's not a good enough intro. Let's do like 14 more. And on our way to go do the third intro, we're sitting there by a farmhouse, right? And all of a sudden, we see him moving. I'm like, oh, it's just a squirrel. All of a sudden, a black...
It was a red fox.
Yeah, a red fox jumps out of the freaking... jumps out of nowhere. And it's right in plain view. I'm like, oh my god, I'm going to take a picture of it. So guess what I get? But I get a video of me running over to Ethan saying, oh my god, bro, I got 2 pictures of it. And then the video stops.
We didn't actually end up getting pictures of it.
But we did get a small video. I'll actually put that video in right after I said it, so you already probably saw what I just said. Alright.
We're back.
Yeah, we're back. We just walked all that way. It's actually been 2 hours since we told you we were going to come back, and we're not doing what we said we were going to do. And looked at our schedule.
Well, we're doing trouble with the timeline. Problems with it, paradoxes. I'm going to cover 3 paradoxes. He's going to give his input. You guys give your input, like
and
why.
And Keegan, our cameraman, is also going to start being a part of the show. Every now and then he'll be our cameraman. If we're in my room, he won't be, but if we're out here under these trees, he will be.
Yes.
So, yeah, Keegan's kind of there. Say hi, Keegan.
Hello. My deep voice.
Yeah.
I'm also going to cover my theory on Link Between Worlds. I'm going to cover my theory on where Link Between Worlds fits in on the official timeline. And then I have news on it that I've gotten from a friend, and I'll share that afterwards. Let's get started. Anything you were going to talk about during the episode?
There is something in here. There are actually a lot of reasons. I'm going to be inputting, just randomly talking, because I can.
Okay then.
But, you'll get a lot of it. Yeah. You'll get explain
Anyway,
the timeline.
The first paradox I'm going to tell you of, which is personally my favorite in the series, is the Master Sword in the Skyward Sword game. So at the beginning of Skyward Sword, you pull the Goddess Sword out of the stone and you become the hero of time and all that crap. And you travel with this sword and you power it up to the fullest. It is now the Master Sword. And you defeat Demise and seal him in the Master Sword. And this is all happening in the past. While you're still in the past, 1,000 years before you pull the sword out of the stone, you take the sword, the Master Sword, and you put it in the empty stone. So why is it simply the Goddess Sword in the future when it was the full-powered Master Sword in the past?
Well, I have a question. When you're using the Master Sword, how do you power up? How do you power it up?
You point it straight to the sky, and it absorbs light energy and becomes more powerful. And you release an attack known as the Skyward Strike.
Okay, so is the temple that you're in, is it on top of a mountain, covered up from everything?
It's on ground level, and it's an ancient ruins temple in the middle of a valley that once had the seal to the evil demon king Demise. So, like, no one goes near it. So, yeah, untouched, basically.
Is there any windows in the top? Is there any way light can get in?
It's ruins.
ruins pretty much. So there is a bunch of holes in the top.
There's some holes in the top.
Yeah. So if you said if light has to directly touch the blade, and if it's sealed in a stone, what if like the power over the years? Because you said he has to go like back forward in time. How many years? Like 7.
About 1,000 years.
So wouldn't after that time you think something would lose energy? Like a battery only lasts 10 years before it expires, because acid goes rancid or whatever. I don't know how batteries work. Maybe you all do, but maybe it just loses the energy over time, thus becoming the god of sword once again. And if untouched for even longer time, maybe it just becomes the crappy sword you find in a stone that's been rusted.
My favorite explanation theory on this is that once sealed in the stone, once the sword at its fullest power is sealed in the stone, it slowly releases its energy into the ground around it, purposely releasing the energy into the ground around it to make the world have more peaceful energy in it and to have much more fertile lands. It's an interesting theory, but still it's a paradox. If the energy is not being released from the sword, then why is it the goddess sword in the future and the master sword in the past?
Maybe the master sword's better than the goddess sword. You may never know.
Yeah, that would be the deal. The master sword is better than the goddess sword.
Mainly because it's called the master sword. But next paradox.
The next two are fairly simple and very similar.
I remember one of your paradoxes is...
Where does the Song of Storms come from? Why does that song exist? So you go in the future, and this angry-looking man tells you, I will never forget that time 7 years ago when a child played this song in my windmill and broke my windmill. He then plays the song for you. You take the song, go in the past, play the song inside his windmill, and break it. In the future, he remembers the song to tell it to you.
How did this happen? So in other words, a song is a figment of your imagination and it's not a real thing.
The song does not exist. It's the thing. The song is merely something... The theory is the song is something that is a necessary object of existence. It has to exist in order for time to move properly. Because of the hero of time traveling, it causes the hero of time to take the place of the original child who played the song in the windmill. We will never know. And the third one, which is probably my least favorite because it's just stupid, you don't even have to do it, but you can do it as many times as you want in the game. I'm not sure which game it is. But anyway, in the future, there's this Goron who owns a clay jar. He wants to get rid of it. He gives it to you. You get the Goron's jar. Or Goron pot, whatever. Well, in the past, the same Goron wants a Goron pot. See where I'm going with this? You give him the pot,
And
you take it from him in the future. You give it back to him in the past, and you take it from him in the future.
So in other words, the pot never disappears.
The pot simply gets older and older and older until eventually it'll wither away out of existence and you'll never have to worry about it because it'll never have existed in the first place.
But it exists in your own memory.
Where exactly it came from, who knows? There's a fourth paradox, and the fourth paradox is simply the timeline itself. Two versions of this timeline split can exist side by side, but at any point during or before the timeline split, if the hero dies, the two timelines can't exist and a third timeline exists in its place. All three cannot exist at the same time, yet the games from all three of these timelines exist at the same time. It's just, people are having so much controversy and problem with this, it doesn't really make sense. It's like, the games exist at the same time, that doesn't mean they're actually happening.
Another thing
with
is,
each other.
In Majora's Mask, there are some people that believe that Link never really died in Majora's Mask. It was just, or some people believe he did die. Others believe he didn't die. Personally, I believe he did die because there's so much proof stating that he did. Another thing that makes sense is the adult timeline. Link, according to him, in the adult timeline, you're kids. But this makes sense because in the adult timeline, Link and Zelda got married, lived happily ever after, had children, and then all of Hyrule flooded, which explains why in Wind Waker,
That would be the adult era.
yeah, in Wind Waker in the adult era, you are left-handed just as Link is, and Link's sister has pointed ears just as Zelda did, and is also left-handed. And where are Link's parents in that game? Nowhere to be seen, because you live with your grandmother on an island surrounded by water that tells you if you go too far out, there's nothing there to search. Which you later find there's plenty to search when you get on this.
The real question is, why do you live with your grandmother on an island? If no one is allowed to leave the island, where's your parents, and why do you live with your grandmother? It actually, I believe it explains that, I believe it explains at some point that Link's parents went off on a trip and they died in battle or something like that. I can't remember the exact details. Anyone who knows, please comment. I would like to know. But if you look in all the houses, supposedly it's required that on this island, all houses are to have a shield, a replicated shield of the Hero of Time, as well as an extra set of Kokiri tunics. But if you look, Link's grandmother is the only woman in the entire village to have met those requirements. She's the only one with the Hero of Time's swords and shield. They're not literally his swords, they're replications, but I'm pretty sure the shield is the same one. Also, you're given a Kokiri tunic.
Which is the exact same thing as Hero.
On to my timeline, and then I'm going to let you, or on to my theory, and I'm going to let you talk a little bit, because I've been blabbing on and on.
Alright, let's continue with the video.
My theory is about where the newest game, A Link Between Worlds, fits in on the timeline. Considering there is no canon or official, there's no official timeline including the newest game yet. I think after Link leaves the Purgatory World, which has now been given so much hope and reason to exist, becomes a more powerful existence of itself and becomes an alternate dimension version of Hyrule. It grows up and becomes exactly the same as Hyrule, just as you'd expect it to. These two parallel dimensions grow up side by side. Now, but meanwhile, in the proper Hyrule, things are taking a turn for the worse. It's becoming darker and darker. The
Twilight Princess?
Yes, eventually. There's a huge war and crap that happens.
But yeah, but huge war happens.
But anyway, there's this war, and then the demon thief Ganon, demon thief, seriously,
Chief.
Demon thief Ganondorf is captured and executed, where he reveals that he has the Triforce of Power. He has this sword made of pure light and good energy, stabbed right through his sternum. I'm pretty sure his sternum is shattered by that. Like, his wound is so magical and crap that it can't heal itself. Like, when he transforms into a boar in Twilight Princess, there's this huge freaking hole in his chest, and you can, like, stab through it and crap. It's freaky, disgusting, and kind of demented even. But anyway, they find out, they come to the assumption that, you know, since the Gerudo, Ganon is Gerudo, since the Gerudo obviously cannot be trusted because they can't learn their lesson not to name the next son born every 100 years Ganondorf. See, the Gerudo are only female. A male is only born every 100 years. This is about the lifespan of males. The women, however, live for like 800 years, I believe. But anyway, I think that the Hylians come to the conclusion that the Gerudo are no longer trustworthy, and therefore banish all the Gerudo into the Twilight Realm, also known as the Dark World, or Lorule, if you want. Anyway, the Twilight Realm is this dark realm. I actually have an entire theory about the Dark, or the Twilight Realm itself, which is not the Dark Realm, I'm sorry. That was stupid of me to say. My theory is of the Twilight Realm's story. In the beginning of the Twilight Realm, it was a solid, harsh light. There was no dark anywhere. This light was so powerful that no physical world could exist in it. The three goddesses of this world came in and created a cloud barrier to cover the light and so that they could create a world. Once they did this, they left the world, leaving the Lorulian Triforce, which is an upside down Triforce. Darker in color, but still a golden color. Well, sometime later, after several wars and evil has come and passed, the sages begin to realize that they cannot trust people. No one has been able to safely have this Triforce. Everyone falls into evil in the presence of this Triforce. So they take this Triforce and they completely destroy it. This is actually explained in A Link Between Worlds. Their Triforce was destroyed. And you do get to see the Triforce restored, which is really cool. Sorry, spoilers. But anyway, my theory is full of spoilers. The Triforce is destroyed, and this causes the world to fall out of balance. The cloud barrier falls apart, and light leaks through and causes the ground to begin falling away into abyss. The world slowly begins to become more and more like what you see in Lorule. And also, I forgot to mention, when the Gerudo were banished, they became imps, like you see in Twilight Princess. And most people are going to correct me and say that I'm wrong. Gerudo only had red hair. I'm pretty sure the twin Rova, one of them had purple hair. Also, they could simply be dyeing their hair.
But don't you think that they did all this just to prove a point?
To prove a point that Nintendo's boss and does whatever they want.
Good point.
Yeah.
But it leads to so many cool conspiracies and other theories. But anyway.
I personally think Nintendo's always screwing with their head, and I think A Link Between Worlds is going to be add-on to A Link to the Past, and after A Link Between Worlds, they're going to have a third game that somehow connects all three timelines, and it's going to be like called A Link to Everything.
Or don't y'all think they're just making this like a big Easter egg?
Maybe it is just a big Easter egg.
Maybe it is, and I'm just a lunatic.
Overthinking?
Anyway, as I was saying, once the Triforce of Lorule is restored, the cloud barrier returns, but the world is very permanently damaged from the light. And the world slowly continues to fall away, but become what it once was as the Twilight Realm. And everyone is reduced back to their impus form. Until the mirror of the Twilight Realm is fixed. And then stupid Midna destroys it.
I personally think that Nintendo's screwing with us, and eventually they can't just keep making this timeline forever and ever, because eventually something's going to come in from one game that's meant to be in the first timeline, but they're going to accidentally include something from a timeline that isn't supposed to be able to connect to that timeline. When those two timelines connect, then they're going to have to make another game that somehow connects all three timelines together, creating what really happened.
So, what I'm saying is, A Link Between Worlds does not come after A Link to the Past. It could not have logically come after A Link to the Past in any way.
What about Heroes of Hyrule?
It comes... Anyway, off of that tangent, back to the real thing.
Y'all want to pause so y'all can
A Link Between Worlds goes on the child timeline era. Right after Majora's Mask and right before Twilight Princess.
Whoa.
Tell me what you think in the descriptions, or in the comments.
What if Ganon is just a pervert?
Possible.
Wait, or maybe Ganon has the Triforce of Power, right? It's only 1/3 of the entire Triforce. Maybe that's the reason he's kidnapping Zelda. He's gonna take the Triforce of Power, or Triforce of Wisdom from her, and submit it into the Triforce of Power, creating the 2/3 Triforce. Kill Link, which is probably why you have to battle him. In the first game, and second game for no reason other than
I
you
would
kidnap
say,
Zelda.
considering I've played almost every Legend of Zelda game except for the Minish Cap series, that would be Minish Cap, Four Swords and Four Swords Adventures, and the Fallen Hero Timeline series, that you're wrong. I mean, you're completely right based on this game. Why did I say wrong? You're completely right. He's very perverted in some situations where he's kind of just like, he's a creep. I wouldn't say he's perverted. He's a creep.
The Triforce isn't the only thing you want to take from Zelda. Wink, wink.
I mean, why else would you kidnap a little girl and try to stab a little boy?
Or he's trying to get to something more,
Yeah.
not in a perverted way.
Yeah. I think he's either a really big pervert and like he's just kidnapping small children, which kind of explains why he kidnapped Link's little sister in Wind Waker.
He kidnapped Link's little sister because he's looking for Princess Zelda, so that he can find Princess Zelda and take the Triforce of Wisdom from her, which she doesn't have in her hand. She actually has about 3/4 of the Triforce on a pendant. Daphne's Hyrule has the other little piece, and they fuse together, forming the full Triforce of Wisdom, and its power causes Tetra to transform into Zelda.
But my theory is that either he's a pedophile or he's trying to take, which is probably why they killed him in not Wind Waker, Majora's Mask. If they killed him, it was, what was it, Ganon's minions that killed him and took Navi? They took Navi so no one would know, because they killed him in the woods. They took Navi so no one would know that Link died. He just died in the forest, no one would know how he died. And they killed Link so they could cut off his hand, or wherever he has the Triforce in that game. I'm assuming it's his hand, because he has it in his hand in most of the games.
The Triforce becomes a spirit form kind of thing and exists within you.
So they kill him to
its
take the
symbol
energy.
is on you, and if someone else has one of the Triforce, they can either take it from you by force,
Or you can give it to them.
or you can willingly give it to them. The Triforce is actually designed intelligently by the goddesses. If someone with an evil heart and evil intentions touches the Triforce pieces will scatter, and the person with evil intentions will only get the third of the Triforce that
Is the
goes
power.
with what they were searching. So if you're searching for ultimate intelligence and wisdom for the purpose of evil, when you touch the Triforce, power and courage will scatter, and you'll
wisdom.
only absorb wisdom. Also, if you're looking for ultimate bravery and courage, that's what you'll get,
And
not the
power.
other three.
And power.
But
is
who's
the
going to
same
look
way.
for those when they can have ultimate power? We've probably just blown your mind.
You've probably just blown your mind in a lot of cuts.